Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Happy New Year! Okay, it's happening. We've got all sorts of stuff kicking off right now. We basically know what the next fusion is going to be, or at least a group of champions around the next fusion. We've got a new leak. I'm almost certain we have got a new event dungeon actually coming soon. Yes, Raid are dropping the leaks, but not really giving us the info. We've got a bit more info today. So, firstly, Raid dropped this kind of visual a couple of days back, just before New Year's Eve, with this kind of like keyhole, old school kind of like chessboard style flooring, keyholes inside, and rightly so, Nicholas was like, this is clearly Alice in Wonderland, okay? And basically it goes on through people's chat. I love some of these. Stop with the shenanigans and do something cool, like add more levels to Minnow or 2 times on Minnow. Anyway, look, guys, they're going to be bringing out new champs. That's what this game does. It's how this game earns cash. So just, yeah, we want the quality of life stuff, but that's not going to change, right? But Alice in Wonderland, for me, was a bit of a like, well, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever watched or read Alice in Wonderland. Like, so I don't know the characters that well. So I had to do a bit of digging, really, to find out what was going on. I had a quick check on this. I thought this is quite interesting. So is Alice in Wonderland in public domain? And it is. So apparently, you know, for the last X amount of years, it was basically pushed into public domain, which means that any game or film or whatever could be made through these characters without having to pay someone tons of royalties, which feels like Raid are kind of going royalty payment, not royalty payment, royalty payment, not royalty payment, right? So, you know, like all of the Thor and stuff, that was not royalty payment. That was not on paying Marvel. They made their own versions of those characters. So very interesting, actually. Raid are obviously seeing a lot of benefit from working in IP, but sometimes they're just trying to see if they can scoot around the edge of where it would be an expensive IP, like a He-Man. So this morning, they then dropped this little trailer. Let me get my ears in for this. I'm guessing that's Alice. That's all we got. That's all we got. Let me just try and play this through. Can I slow it down on here? No, let me just... So we've got, I guess, somebody's armor or something here. It looks like this could be a rabbit in the background. I think this could be a fiery sword, potentially. Obviously, this is a dude. Or is this someone's helm? I'm not sure. Because there's characters. We'll go through the characters in a minute. But I think this could be something to do with like the Queen of Hearts or the King of Hearts. See the heart here? King of Hearts, maybe. We've got a spooky cauldron. We've got this character dropping out the sky. And then we've got somebody on their stopwatch, which I think is going to be the Mad Hatter, probably the most well-known character from the series and that. So, okay, says to me at least 3 characters, probably at least 4 from what we've seen there. Some sort of rabbit, an Alice, a Mad Hatter, and a King or a Queen of Hearts, right? So I then went in to look at, you know, who are the most popular characters in the book or whatever. We've got these cards. We've got the King of Hearts, the Jabberwock, which could be cool if this is the, you know, the thing we're going to fight in the event dungeon. Could be pretty cool. We've got the Tweedledee and Tweedledum, which again would be very cool as a boss in the event dungeon. So kind of like that. Time. Oh, actually, is Time separate from the Mad Hatter? In the books, the only mention of Time is in the first novel, Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, when Alice meets the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, and the Dormouse at the tea party. The group have somehow wrong time. Okay, so maybe it's not like one of the mainstay characters, but we do see, I think the Mad Hatter's always got a timepiece as well, right? So I'd imagine that was the Mad Hatter we've seen. Knave of Hearts stands trial for stealing the Queen's tarts, whatever. The March Hare, the Dormouse, the White Rabbit. Now, the White Rabbit is, I think, going to be in it. I don't know how Razelvarg's going to feel about that. Another bunny coming into the game. Or are they going to try and make out that Ralsavad is the White Rabbit? I don't know, but I'd imagine they'll bring a new one in. So I think this is very likely because, again, one of the main, the main kind of like characters that you would expect. Caterpillar, the White Queen, clearly Alice. Now, I'd imagine if they're doing Alice in Wonderland, Alice is going to be in the mix. But how are you going to portray Alice? Like, what faction is she going to be in? Again, not watching the films and stuff, I don't know if she becomes like this big hero of some sort, or if she's just kind of like a girl who's guided along a path, really. But, those who are interested, what sort of abilities would you get out of an Alice? One would expect Alice to be the most interesting character in Wonderland because she is the protagonist of the story, but she isn't always the most fascinating person in the room. Yeah, that was my take on it from what little I know. Alice is a little annoying, constantly wondering how she got herself into trouble. She is chaotic, impulsive, stubborn, and sassy. Okay. So maybe she's just going to be talking us to death or something. I don't know. We've got the Cheshire Cat. This is... Lady H says, apparently he can make himself invisible or something. But, I don't know. Queen of Hearts feels quite likely as a very well-known character. But it did look more kingly in terms of design from what we just saw in that little clip. And then the Mad Hatter, I think, is a definite. Could end up being the boss in the event dungeon, right? The Mad Hatter, probably the most well-known character and well-depicted character that exists. So I think there's a good chance this is going to be an event dungeon boss. And then we're going to be able to probably fuse one of the characters. So maybe it's like fuse Alice, fight the Mad Hatter, and then there's two maybe other characters in the game at the same time as like a Void Legendary and maybe a Mythical. You could have Tweedledee and Tweedledum as a Mythical, actually. That could be fun. But I think probably the Queen of Hearts coming in and the Bunny coming in as like two other characters as well. And then we'll have, very similar to what we saw with the kind of like Asgardian bosses or Asgardian characters coming in. There'll probably be, one is a fusion, one is the event dungeon that you can eventually get from shards, and then two are just going to be through shards. I think that's all, or probably actually, what did they do? It was like one event dungeon, one fusion. The other two were available in some way, like through and generally it's a way that, unless you saved a ton of stuff, you need to pay for, but a champion training tournament or a deck of fate type of thing. So I just have that in your mind because by the looks of it, in terms of what we've seen on the drop today, the countdown comes in. Let's just minimize that a second. Sure, I saw some actual dates somewhere. Where did I see it? It was on Discord. On Discord here, the clock is ticking and you better not delay. January the 8th, 2025 will be a very special day. Now, we're actually due to start the free-to-play on January the 10th. Rightly so. Raid, if you happen to watch this video, Solstican actually made a point to me saying last time there was a free-to-play event and they dropped a free champion, login champion, which was actually, what's her name? Oh, man, I can't remember her name. What was her name and what the hell faction was she in? This one, Adeline. So they dropped Adeline during our 2024 free-to-play. And the problem is, when they flip it into the free-to-play, the free login champions, all of the gear that you get is perception gear. Now, you're probably thinking, great, perception gear is amazing. It is, but if you're a brand new player, you actually need lifesteal gear. You need lifesteal gear on your first champ. And when it flips into one of these free login champions, you actually miss out on that first set of lifesteal gear, which basically carries you through the early game. Perception gear does not carry you through the early game. It does after you've got your first lifesteal, right? So yeah, hopefully they're thinking brand new player still needs lifesteal, and then anyone who's been playing for more than a month switch over to perception gear. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, the free to play kicks off on the 10th. And this is happening on the 8th. So Firstly, could be fun because everybody in that free-to-play event is going to get a legendary champion to play around with, by the looks of it, as long as they go down their normal route. And that legendary champion will have a soul, which again is massive. You can't even understand how important that is for a new player playing the game, or how massive it is for a new player playing the game. But yeah, it depends if they're a champion that can actually help us early game or not. So damn, lots going on. I'm 99% sure it is an event dungeon as well as champions. I think it's going to be very, very similar to what they did with the Asgard event, like extremely similar. And yeah, let me know what you think. Is that something you're keen for or something you're against? Woo! Happy New Year, guys. I'll see you in the next one.